Whatever Osho said back then in his time, majority could not understand, and things took the shape of controversies. Now that it is possible to understand his words, people have started reading, listening, and discussing. It might sound a little strange, and even I am wondering that after these many years of listening to Osho meditation, still my mind has not registered any controversy. Yes, he is also known as a controversial guru, but I always find all of his talks very relevant to truth. As Osho talks about all aspects of life, it looks contradictory. But that's just like the other side of the same coin. Let us look at his views on secrets of happiness. He said that we can be happy because that's our true nature. More happy than anything else in the world, more happy than these trees, and more happy than the stars and birds. Because we have something that no tree, no birds, and no stars have. We have consciousness. But when you have consciousness, there are two alternatives that are possible. Either you become happy or you become unhappy. Then it is going to be your choice. Trees are simply happy because they cannot be unhappy. Their happiness is not their freedom. They have to be happy. They don't know how to be unhappy. There is no alternative for them. And same thing is with the birds. They are usually happy. Not because that they have chosen to be happy, but because they are simply happy. Because they don't know any other way to be. Their happiness is unconscious. It is simply natural. We can be tremendously happy too, or we could be tremendously unhappy. And we are free to make that choice. It is quite hazardous. This freedom is quite dangerous because you become responsible, and something has happened with this freedom to all of us. Something has gone wrong. We all seek meditation in the search of peace and happiness. Meditation is needed only when you have not chosen to be happy. If you have chosen to be happy, there is no need for any meditation. Meditation is medicinal. If you are ill, then the medicine is needed. Buddhas don't need meditation. Once you have started choosing happiness, once you have decided that you want to be happy, there is no meditation required. Then meditation starts happening on its own. Meditation is a byproduct of happiness. Meditation follows happy men like a shadow. Wherever he goes, whatever he does, he is always meditative. He is intensely concentrated. The word meditation and the word medicine, they comes from the same root. And it is very significant, right? Meditation is also medicine. You don't carry a bottle of medicines and prescriptions with you when you're healthy. Of course, when you're not healthy, if you have to go to the doctor, going to the doctor is never so pleasing. One should be happy so that the doctor is not needed. So many religions are there because so many people are unhappy. A happy person needs no religion. A happy person needs no temple, no church. Because for a happy person, the whole universe is a church and the whole existence is a temple. The happy person has nothing like religious activity because his whole thing is religious. Whatsoever you do with happiness is prayer. Your work becomes worship. That's why it's called your work is a worship. Your very breathing has intense splendor to it, a grace. Not that you constantly repeat the name of God, because God has no name. And by repeating some assume the name, you simply engage your mind to that name and keep yourself busy by repeating his names. You are not going to go anywhere. A happy man simply comes to see that God is everywhere. He knows that God exists everywhere. You need happy eyes to see him. What has gone wrong with the entire humanity? There was a man who became very famous in Germany, and his name was Dr. Daniel. He was the real founder of fascism, and he died in 1861. This man had a very pronounced views on how to bring up children. He wrote many books, and those books were translated in many languages, and they were loved tremendously and respected tremendously by the society, because his views were not so exceptional. Rather, his views were very common. He was saying things that everybody believed down the centuries. He was the spokesman for the ordinary mind. Hundreds of clubs, societies were set to perpetuate his thoughts, his ideas, and when he died, many statues were built and streets around in the world were named after him. He believed that disciplining children from the time they were 6 months old is very important. Because he said, if you don't discipline a child when he's 6 months old, you will be missing a real opportunity of disciplining him. When a child is very tender and soft, unaware of the ways of the world, it makes a deep imprint. He will always follow that imprint, and he will not even want to be aware that he is being manipulated by us, the adults. And all the people of the world believed in doing this. This seems to be the basic cause, because you see, no man is moving freely. No man is sensing or investigating his part with his own consciousness. He has been corrupted at the very root level. But he called it discipline. Parents all over the world became very enthusiastic, and everybody started trying to discipline their children. And that's how, according to the survey in Germany, said that Germany was so disciplined that it paved the way for Hitler. That's how he could rule for so many years, and he ruled so many intelligent people with such an ease, with such ideas. These people were trained to believe. These people were trained to not to be an individual. These people were trained always to remain in discipline. And these people were trained that obedience is the greatest virtue. What if I tell you it's not? Sometimes it is disobedience that can be the greatest virtue too. Sometimes, of course, it is obedience. But the choice has to be yours. You have to constantly choose whether to obey or not to obey. That means you have consciously remain the master of every situation, whether you obey or disobey. So there is no need of complaining against your parents. That is not going to help. The day you understand, you have to consciously drop it and come out of it. Be an individual if you want to be happy. There are many times you will have to be disobedient. There will be many times you will have to be rebellious. Just be there. Be there, be respectful to your own parents, but remember that your deepest responsibilities towards your own being comes first. Everybody is dragged and manipulated, and nobody knows what is one's destiny, what really you always wanted to do in your life. You have forgotten how you can be happy. Somebody who could have been a poet is now a banker. Somebody who could have been a painter is now a doctor. Somebody who could have been a beautiful doctor is a businessman now. everybody is displaced. Everybody is doing something that he never wanted to do. Therefore, unhappiness. Happiness happens when you fit with your life. When you fit so harmoniously that whatsoever you're doing is your joy, then suddenly you feel, you will come to know that meditation follows you. If you love your work that you're doing, if you love the way that you're living, then you are meditative already. Then nothing can distract you. When things distract you, that simply means that you are not interested in those things. A real person takes the courage to move things that make him happy if he remains pure. He has no complaint about life. He has no grudges. And he says, I have chosen my way and I am happy. This type of man will never need any method of concentration or meditation, because there is no need. He is in concentration. He is in a pure joy. His concentration is spread all over his life. Man has gone completely topsy-turvy. You forget the intrinsic values of your life, your happiness, your joy, your delight. You always choose something which is outside and you bargain that with something inside. Even when you get the whole world at your feet, and if you have lost yourself, even if you have conquered the whole riches of the world, and if you've lost your own inner treasure, what are you going to do with it? This is the misery. If you can learn one thing, that one thing is to be aware about your own inner motives, about your own inner destiny. Never lose sight of it. Otherwise, you will be unhappy. And when you're unhappy, then people say, meditate and you will become happy. They say, concentrate and you will become happy. Pray and you will become happy. So you start going to temples, you start following a religion, you become a Christian or Hindu or Muslim, and you will be happy. That's what people say. That doesn't make any sense. Be happy and meditation will follow you. Be happy and religion will follow you. Happiness is the basic condition. With me, happiness comes first. Joy comes first. A celebrating attitude comes first. Do these positive affirmations in your life and enjoy. If you cannot enjoy your work, change it. Do something else. Don't wait, because all the time that you're waiting for God or gurus to do something miraculous for you. It's not going to happen. One simply waits, and this one's life, for whom or what you're waiting, if you don't see the point that you are miserable and you are following a certain pattern of life, start noticing your pattern. The pattern may be wrong, and try to understand the difference of emphasis here. You are not wrong, just your pattern. The way you have learned to live is wrong. The motivations that you have learned and accepted as yours are not yours. They don't fulfill your destiny. They go against your element. Nobody else can decide for you. You have been working on the commandments and the orders of people around you. You have to decide for yourself. You have to take your life in your own hands. Otherwise, you know what's going to happen? Life is going to go knocking at your door, but you are never there. You are always somewhere else. If you were going to be a dancer, life comes from that door, because life thinks you must be a dancer by now. It knocks there, but you're not there. You're a banker now. And how life is expected to know, by the way? God comes to you with the way that He wanted you to be. He knows that only that address, but you're never there. You are somewhere else, hiding in someone else's mask and in somebody else's name. How you expect God to find you? He goes on searching for you. He knows your name, but you have forgotten that name. Equanimous. That's your name. He knows your address, but you never lived at that address. You allowed the whole world to distract you. God can find you only one way, and that is your inner flowering. And He always wanted you to be that. Unless you find your own spontaneity, unless you find your own element, you cannot be happy. And if you cannot be happy, you cannot be meditative this way. Ideas arose in people's mind that meditation brings happiness. In fact, wherever they found a happy person, they found him in a meditative place. So both things are associated. People think that happiness comes when you are meditative, but it's always the other way around. Meditation comes when you are happy. But it is quite hard for people to believe in such a way. And to learn meditation is quite easy, because then there are certain steps. You need to be observant, you need to be mindful, watch out your breath. And that's an easier path. To be happy means there's going to be a drastic change in your life. To be happy means it's going to be making those drastic changes in your life. So what you got to do is that, you need to watch out those patterns in your life. So if there was no enforced pattern by your parents, society, and if there were nobody to distract you, you will be at much better place. You have to drop those patterns to be in that blissful state. Reflect on your own life pattern and see where it is taking you. That's all for now.